Welcome into 6 must-start players for week 11 of fantasy football. I'm your host, Josh. You're joined by Alec. As always, Alec, we are 3 or 4 weeks away from fantasy playoffs starting, depending on the league that you're in. So we are getting down to the must-win weeks, especially if you had somebody like who we were telling you to draft, like a Rashee Rice, right? Somebody that you drafted early that didn't play until late. These are must-win weeks now. And you're getting 6 guys here today that we think you have to have in your starting lineup today. We've got a lot of injuries still, a couple bye weeks here going on here too, but the bye weeks have kind of slowed down. Injuries have picked up like you typically see in the latter half of the season. I'm going to go ahead and take the first ring here. I know we kind of go back and forth here, Alec. I'm taking it here, and I'm going Jaylen Waddle against Washington. He's one of my favorite must starts this week, if not my favorite one, because he's up against a Washington defense that just fired their defensive coordinator, right? Got Dan Quinn calling plays for their defensive now, and they just got torched, and I mean torched by the Lions wide receiver core. And I understand you can say the Lions have a very good offense that's been good in years past. Dan Campbell called plays for the first time in probably 2.5, 3 years, right? And they were unconscious against this team, against this defense. This Washington defense really struggles to cover. They have all year. And I think that Jaylen Waddle's in a spot where in the last 3 weeks, he's had 6, 9, and 7 targets and a touchdown in 2 of his last 3. I think that it's setting up to be a really, really good game. It's over in Europe. I understand sometimes they're weird. I think over in Europe, you're going to get to see a Jaylen Waddle hit that 7 to 10 target spot again. And if you're giving me 7 to 10 targets against this Washington defense, who just gave up over 100 yards to Jamison Williams last week and nearly 60 yards to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who didn't need to do anything in the fourth quarter. I don't think he had a catch in the fourth quarter. In a close game, I think Waddle torches him.
No, dude, I wasn't on Waddle at all this week until you texted me. I was like, wait, that matchup's unbelievable. Because you got to think about this too. If I'm taking a jet lag game, like I'm gonna take the offense in a jet lag game. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Because it's more structured. I that has nothing. I have no data to back that up. That's just off pure vibes. But yeah. But no, I love Waddle this week. I think he is easily the number one target in that offense now. That's kind of cooking. It's kind of cooking.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely started to turn a little bit of a corner in the last like kind of 2 or 3 weeks, it seems like, and I think Waddle's going to be the beneficiary of that, right? Obviously, no Tyreek Hill for the rest of the season, so when that offense continues to take a leap, obviously Devon Achane's been unreal. He will continue to be unreal. Waddle is going to be the clear guy that's going to take that jump forward with that offense, I think.
So my first guy, I'm going to take Jaylen Warren here. Cincinnati, we're targeting the Bengals again. It's a theme this week. It's a theme every week, really. But yeah, I'm taking Jaylen Warren. Last time out, he had a good game against the Bengals. It was a shootout. I really don't expect anything less this weekend. Bengals can't play defense, and their offense is fantastic. So high volume for Jaylen Warren, who's sneakily the snap share has been creeping up for him. Remember that Kenneth Gainwell week where Kenneth Gainwell went off and Warren was out? We're like, oh my gosh, this might be a two-headed monster backfield. It's not really. It's all Jaylen Warren.
Yep.
So Jaylen Warren in a high, over under game, like I think he's a smash flex play this week, or an RB2, whatever you're feeling.
Yeah, I think that what we saw from Brees Hall 2 weeks ago, right before your bye week, was just like, I mean, it cemented where situations like this, when you have Jaylen Warren, which when you're saying Jalen Woe, I was thinking you're going to say Jaylen Waddle again. I was going to say Alec. We already said him. You can't say him
Yeah.
again. I love doubling down, but we can't double down here. But I
Yeah.
would, if we could double down, I would double down on Jaylen Warren because, yeah, he's an absolute. He's getting a lot of touches, and he's going to be an absolute animal. He himself is not necessarily an absolute animal against common defenses. But this Bengals defense, I mean, they got just torched by the Jets offensive line, their rushing unit, which has not been good all year and has not looked good against anybody.
Yeah,
And
and
so Jalen
objectively,
Warren,
yeah, I agree with you because sorry, I need to jump in here, but
no,
I
you're
just
good.
realized this too. Monungai had 200 total yards
Yeah,
before the bye
yeah,
week, and Warren's way better than Monungai, in my
yeah,
opinion, just like talent wise, I think.
yeah. So Brees Hall was the week before, Monanga was the week
Yeah,
after. Yeah. So 2 weeks before your bye, yeah, was Brees Hall. Yeah, the Monanga the week before your, yeah, it's the last 2 games that the Bengals have played has been atrocious defensively against rushing units that have not been elite at all this year. So, yeah, I think that this is a Jaylen Warren's a smash play. I would play him over a ton of guys this week. Like, I don't care if you have like Travion Henderson playing tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. Hard to sit him after last week. I'm sitting Travion Henderson for Jaylen Warren because Jaylen Warren has to be in your lineup unless you're in a league where you have like Chan as your flex and you have 3 elite running backs. Like, unless it's something crazy, Warren has to be playing. Which
Yeah,
in that case you should be
I'm
trading
not
somebody. You should be trading 8.
yeah. I'm not sitting JT for Jaylen Warren this week,
Correct.
but
Yep.
there's a well, because he is on his bye week, but yeah. So Jaylen Warren is probably a top 7-8 RB this week.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. I think another RB that's for me a smash play is Chuba Hubbard against Atlanta if Dowdle does not play, right? So I need to clarify that. If Dowdle does not play, didn't practice today as of Wednesday, didn't practice because of the quad injury. He's not trending towards playing. Tomorrow's is a big one, right? If you can give me a limited participation tomorrow or Friday, then I think that it's going to be a game time decision. Just monitor that. If Chuba or if Dowdle plays, then don't start Chuba. But if there's no Dowdle, Chuba has a great matchup here against Atlanta. They're giving up like 150 rushing yards a game right now, bottom 5 rushing defense in the league. Well, Carolina is so committed to the run, right? Last week, the Saints, who defended the run really, really well. I think it's a large reason for that is because they had 4 linemen in the game at all times, and they had 2 linebackers that were committed to the run at all times. And now that they also have 2 good linebackers, right? And Pete Warner and Demario Davis. Both of those guys are very intelligent, if you will. Linebackers that are also just read the game really well and great tacklers. So that's difficult to run against. They've ran the ball. Carolina has 20 plus times, pretty much 25 plus times, nearly every game this year. They are so committed to the run. And I think that in a matchup up against Atlanta, they're going to get to the run just like they tried to last week. And Chuba, I think, is going to have a really good week here. Also, they target the running backs roughly 5 times a game. I think with no doubt, Chuba's getting all of them.
Yeah, this is kind of like a system where it's like whoever's the starter is startable, right?
Yep.
So it's like, is Dowdle better than Chuba, like in a vacuum? They're probably very similar, but whoever's like the bell cow needs to be started immediately. So yeah, if Dowdle's out, if Chuba's on your waiver, I'd go pick him up now just in case.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Especially with quads too, you never know. I mean, if Dowdle's questionable with the quad, decides to play. I mean, we saw Mike Evans do it last year, right? Where questionable with a hamstring injury comes into the game. All of a sudden you're in the first quarter and he's out for 4 or 5 weeks because he just didn't pull it, but strained it real good. So anytime you have muscle injuries like that, especially when you have an elite handcuff behind them and a system like we were talking about, if Chuba Hubbard's available, you better pick him up.
Yeah, because you never know if somebody was just frustrated the last couple of weeks and dropped him in your league. It's worth a look.
Well, and before Dowdle's injury, he's a droppable guy. Hubbard is. Chuba is.
Yeah, arguably,
holding on to him to be a handcuff, he's totally droppable because he was playing like 20% of snaps, right? So, no, I think if Dowdle doesn't play, Chuba's a must start. But over to you for your second one here.
Yeah, so I'm going back. I got the Bengals sweatshirt on, so I'm going back. Bengals defense. I actually have a pretty good theme going this week. So so just so people know that I like hate the Bengals or something. I love the Bengals. That's how sad this is making me. But I'm going DK Metcalf this week. I think he's a smash. Again, like I said, it's a high total game. I think it's going to be a high flying game. I know the games in Pittsburgh usually aren't as high flying as the games in Cincy when the Steelers and Bengals play, but I think DK is going to smash this week. Don't know who's going to guard him, and I don't know if the Bengals know who's going to guard him because I don't think anybody's going to guard him.
That's what I was going to
say. So if you could have DK Metcalf in like your wide receiver 3, even like a wide receiver 2 this week, I'd be fine with him, or like a flex option. I think DK is a good start this week.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it. Anytime we can target the Bengals defense, I mean, kind of similar to what we had with Dallas like 5 or 6 weeks ago, right? 6 or 7 weeks ago, if you will. We had I mean, Dallas's defense was very similar, right? We targeted them. They've started to
Yep.
improve a little bit. Now we're just sticking with Cincinnati, and they have not. Apologies, Alec, but they have not improved yet. So, and I don't think they will.
They're, yeah. They haven't disappointed us
No,
for
they
this
have
show.
not. If you're a fantasy football owner of any Pittsburgh Steeler, they will not disappoint you this week.
No,
So no,
they make Pat Fryermuth of fantasy relevant.
yeah, they might make me fantasy relevant.
Yeah,
To be honest, but
true.
no, I love Metcalf. I think you're targeting number one option for Rodgers, who started to look better. I think in the last couple weeks, and obviously when you have the matchup like what you have here, he's going to be able to manipulate the game how he wants to. He's gonna identify blitz coverages very very easily, and if you have that figured out, the personnel itself is not going to be able to hang with what the Pittsburgh's going to do on offense, whether it's with Jaylen Warren or DK Metcalf, just targeting high volume guys against the Cincinnati defense.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Alec, for you is a great fantasy play.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
my third and final one here is not against the defense. It's against Kansas City's defense, and that's not necessarily defense that we want to target very often, right? But they're giving up roughly 100 yards on the ground per game. And I've got RJ Harvey up against Kansas City. There's going to be no Dobbins. Very, very likely. They're talking about maybe putting him on the IR because of a foot injury. He hasn't practiced yet. They haven't put him on the IR, but he hasn't participated in practice at all. I don't think there's any shot he plays this week. There's a chance, they're looking for a second opinion. There's a chance maybe he's back in a week and a half if the second opinion's perfect. But I don't think there's any way he plays this week. Giving RJ Harvey the starting role, right, against Kansas City, the bell cow role, the guys behind him, Jaleel McLaughlin is not going to take very many touches, right? There's a reason why they have RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins. It's because the guys behind him, aka Jaleel McLaughlin, they didn't want to get touches, right? So RJ Harvey is going to be in for probably 15 to 20 touches at least. Their backfield has had 10 catches in the last 2 games combined, so 5 catches a game. All of those are going to RJ Harvey this game. Maybe McLaughlin will take one on a 3rd and long, right? So realistically, I love the situation that Harvey's in. Volume play up against a tough defense, right? Not the best defense. I think they're 12th best rushing defense, but realistically, given the volume and the way that he's looked on his limited touches this year, I love the value here, and you have to be starting RJ Harvey unless you're in a situation where you've got right your Achans and your Jaylen Warren at your flex. But I love RJ Harvey here.
Yeah, no, I actually hadn't seen the Dobbins news. I actually might start Dobbins over. Probably not over Jaylen Warren, but
Harvey.
Harvey, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I meant
no.
Harvey. Yeah,
no,
sorry,
that's good.
I'm not
I just want
starting
to
Dobbins.
clarify for everybody. Don't start Dobbins. Yeah, don't start Dobbins.
No, don't start Dobbins over anybody this week. But yeah, so,
you could play us over Dobbins actually.
Yeah. So, no, Harvey. Sorry. Yeah, Harvey could potentially be sneaky like a mid RB2 option this week, probably even higher, maybe like 13th, 14th this week. Because if he's getting 20, he's so talented, especially PPR.
Yeah. Well, then, I mean, the thing that Harvey has that Dobbins does not have, my final comment on him, is he's got the explosive ability, right? That where he could, if the Chiefs defense, if they're in a blitz and you run against the blitz and you break through the line of scrimmage, RJ Harvey can house anything. Whereas J.K. Dobbins doesn't necessarily have that explosiveness, right? So I think RJ Harvey, kind of what we saw with Travion Henderson last week, right? When you have somebody with as explosive as RJ Harvey, as Travion Henderson, when they hit the hole and they're untouched going through the hole, getting to the second level, you're putting your foot in the ground and just cutting up field away from making a safety look silly and going for 60. So RJ Harvey has that ability. If he does that one time this week, all of a sudden he's a top 10 running back. So, and he's going to have the touches for it. So love the volume here. Not a great matchup, not a bad matchup either, though. I overall like it a lot.
Yeah, so I think so my last guy is Javonte Williams here. It's Monday night, Cowboys against the Raiders, but I feel like this is pretty common at this point just because of how much Javonte smashed this week, this season so far. But it's kind of still one of those things where he's coming off the bye, and sometimes he can get lost. And I drafted him in the 8th, 9th round. I have these other guys that are balling too. Do I need to start Javonte? Please just put him back in your lineup.
Yep.
I think he's basically a locked and loaded, probably top 10 RB for the rest of the year, to be honest with you. But the matchup this week is unbelievable. I mean, this Raiders defense is reeling. And Javonte Williams, I mean, he gets all the volume there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree. It's the Raiders' defense is similar to Washington and Cincinnati, right? I mean, there's kind of a theme here as we start to get this data, this advanced data against these teams. Defenses, I think, is more important than the offenses, right? Obviously, the offenses matter, right? Touch wise, snap share, stuff like that. But when you start to see defenses that are just atrocious against the run, when you start to see defenses that just cannot defend anything, they can't, force negative plays, they can't get off the field, and when it hits the fourth quarter, they're giving up chunk play after chunk play, then those are the ones you want to target. The Las Vegas is one of those teams that is just really struggling defensively right now. So no, I love Javonte. Another guy that's going to have a monstrous amount of volume. Also pairing that with against a bad defense. I love the play there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a smash play. I think all these guys are pretty good. I think this week's a little more, a little. It was a little easier to pick some people out than last week.
Yeah, yeah, there definitely are. There are several favorable matchups this week. Whereas kind of what we said last week, right? Or this week there are. Last week there's a lot of like your gimme matchups, right? Where the guys that aren't going to leave your lineup no matter what have good matchups, but the guys that are on your fringe, a lot of them had difficult matchups. Whereas this week I think is a little bit different. So no, those are 6 guys. I think that we're gonna go 6 for 6 this week, Alec, in out producing projections, right? But we've been close before. We've been very close before. I don't think we've had a 6 for 6 yet, but we're gonna do that this week here. Maybe we should probably throw in a 7th guy just in case we go 6 for 7. For
Yeah,
all of our any viewers under the age of 16.
I would lower that. I'd say 12.
Under 12, yeah. Did you see the
Yeah.
did you see the video of, as we wrap this up really quick, did you see the video of, I think it was Nebraska women's basketball at
I did see,
on
yes, I did.
elementary night? They were at 65
Yeah,
points. Girl goes to the line for 2, and the
yeah.
announcer said there's like 1,000 like 8-year-olds in the building. And she hits the first one 66, hits the second one to go to 67. The place just erupts. Like you thought it was a buzzer
Yeah,
beater. Like,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I don't I see when I watch that, I don't know if it's like, now that I'm like in my 20s, like old man yelling at the clouds, like I don't know if I should be like, that's awesome, or like I just don't understand it. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like I'm kind of in the middle.
Yeah, these damn kids nowadays, get off
Yeah.
the phone and get outside is what Alex trying to say. Yeah.
Exactly. No, I love it. I loved there's been a couple other ones too where I saw one, it was like I forget, it was like one of those like elementary night too, but it was like a smaller stadium. I don't know if it was like a high school game,
Yeah.
and like the place just erupted
Yeah.
too. It's kind of fun.
It's so funny. That's just completely meaningless and people love it. But either way, those are our 6, not 7, 6 guys that we think are gonna go off this week. And I feel really good about our 6 here, Alec. But other than that, this has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.